How would you rate Canada's performance at these Olympics? Mediocre?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we got lots of medals in the pool, and then we had, oh, I don't know, that drone cheating thing that with the women's soccer, how embarrassing was all that? I mean, we forget about the news cycle in the
Yeah.
Olympic Games.
Right.
But
We have forgotten about it already, haven't we?
yeah, no, isn't it nuts? Because it was all consuming. Before the Olympics even began, Canada was in all kinds of trouble for spying on New Zealand. And then it came out that, well, not only the women, but the men's program too. Blah, 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 all this stuff. So I think Canada's doing quite well. I mean, we still have some track and field to go. That would be great. Obviously, the pool's been fantastic with Summer McIntosh, but I have to say, because I followed it so closely, the women's soccer disaster about that drone scandal, and the coach is not quite coming to telling the truth at the beginning, and the women have to fight their way through that 6-point deficit. To me, that was a stunning set of performances. I mean, they got kicked out, and in the in the quarterfinals,
Quarterfinals,
I
yep.
mean, not for lack of just I don't know how they marched through, but they did against the most astronomical odds. That was like it was such a punitive sanction against them.
What's the fallout going to be, do you think, Mary?
It's going to be ugly. I think they're going to have some sort of, they've got some kind of independent investigation going on. Now we've seen these before, and with other things like with Hockey Canada, and I mean, a million years ago with the Ben Johnson stuff and the Dublin inquiry. I think what we're going to find out is a lot more people knew what was going on than what was first told to the Canadian public just at the beginning of the games about how Canada has operated. Um, and probably find out about other countries who've been doing exactly the same thing. Because in one of those emails from the coach, Bev Priestner, allegedly, she says, the other countries are doing it too. So what's the problem?
Well, the interesting thing is, and the truth is, that Canada has been punished at least twice in my lifetime, seriously, with Olympic misdemeanors. Ben Johnson, who we wrote about, was the first one, and now this one. They're both pretty serious allegations.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder what we are doing here in this country. I mean, we don't think of Canada as being a cheater, and yet we have been caught twice with big incidents, right?
Right. Right. It makes me wonder, and you guys can chime in on this too, because you don't want to say, oh, because Canada is, such a mouse among all these, table thumpers at an Olympic Games or World Championships or whatever it is. But they've got the worst timing to be on the world stage to have these things happen. So, Ben was the doping issue. He was the first guy, and the most scandalous because he was the first one. But wearing this for what really is probably like low-level spying, cheating, scouting your opponents, it was a big backlash. And Canada, or Canadian soccer and the Canadian Olympic officials, in my opinion, made it worse for the women because they began confessing to other improprieties, and possibly this happened before even being compelled to do so. Like they're just, making a clean breast of everything before FIFA even got in and sanctioned the women. So that was all complicating the process. So it does appear that we just do not have our crap together sometimes, or we just have the worst possible luck when it comes to these sort of incidents. And everybody else goes, oh, Canada, oh, who would have thought they would have done such a thing?
Yeah.
How well are we covered, boys? We don't have any emails talking about our drone gate, do we? So,
here's the thing. You brought up a really good point at the end there when you talked about everybody else turning and looking at Canada. Maybe we're just not very good politicians. Maybe we don't play the game as well as our friends south of us do. I mean, the USOC is famous for, using its weight when it needs to use its weight, Mary.
For sure. I would agree with that totally, John. What we also find is that the Canadian maybe sense of fair play are sort of, I don't want to say niceness, there's probably a better word for it, but we seem to be a soft target not just in sports, but when people want to, like, make an example of somebody, or you're going to be the fall guy for any kind of spying that goes on. Yeah, we'll mention the other countries later on, but you're the ones that are going to take the hit on the world stage. And with Ben too, I mean, there wasn't a lot of protection in many ways. Canada just sort of rolled over and said, "Oh, you got him. Oh my God, we're so embarrassed." So I think when you're talking about other countries too, it's not just the Americans, but you get the Brits in there too, usually a host country. The Chinese fight back about all kinds of, allegations coming at them now as well. But with, like I said, the big boys at the table, when they want to be heard, they're smashing the table and pointing, fingers in other people's faces. You leave us alone, or we will do whatever. Canada just goes, oh boy,
We
this
don't
is
we don't have a
terrible.
big stick. We don't
No,
have
we
a
don't
big
have
stick,
we don't have a
right?
big stick, so I'm torn about that. I mean, you should always be truthful, but at the same time, are you protecting your athletes as much as you can until you can no longer protect them?